In this little video, I'm going to show you some stretches and exercises that will help if you've either got plantar fasciitis at the moment or if you've had it and are trying to stop it coming back again. So we're going to start with some calf stretches against the wall. So start standing quite close to the wall. People tend to stand too far away, and have your feet just lightly on the wall in front of your shoulders. Keep your feet hip width apart, and let's start by taking our right foot behind us. So again, when you take the right foot behind, don't become behind the left foot, but keep that hip width distance apart and come back as far as you can, but you'll need to have your right heel down on the floor, and then you've got your left knee bent. Now I'm not coming in from my shoulders, I'm just coming in, lunging in from my hips. So I keep my back straight and I'm just lightly pressing my hands on the wall, and I'm getting a really good stretch in the back of my right calf here and going up behind the back of the knee. So you want to hold these stretches for about half a minute if you can, and just relax into them, and you can just gradually lunge a bit more if it means you want to get a slightly stronger stretch, but keep your right heel down on the floor. So after about half a minute, keep the left knee bent and bring the right foot just halfway back in. Again, keeping that hip distance apart. And now bend the right knee as well. And I'm just squatting straight down towards the right heel. I'm not sticking out my bottom. Keep the pelvis tucked under. So I've got a straight back, and I'm just squatting straight down on as if like I'm about to sit on a stool. And I've got a slightly lower stretch now. It's more around the Achilles and around the bottom of the Achilles and around the heel. If you're very tight in the quads, you might not be able to hold it for too long to begin with, but again, try and hold it for at least 20 seconds, this one, and that gets around the heel a little bit more. And then come to standing and bring your right foot back in. So again, we're starting quite close to the wall. So then we'll do the left side, and even if, say you've had plantar fasciitis on the right side, still do the left. So start with a straight left leg, the right knee is now bent, heel is to the floor on both the feet, and I'm lunging in from the hips. So even do the other leg, even if you've got plantar fasciitis, say in the right leg, still do the left, because you'll find that the left is probably just as tight because it's had to compensate for you protecting the right side. So always do both in all these. So again, just hold this one. Again, you could be lunging slightly further in to increase that stretch. And then you want to bring that left leg in halfway in, keep the right knee bent, and now bend the left knee and squat straight down. So not sticking out the bottom, keeping the pelvis tucked down to a straight back, and just squatting down towards the left heel. So you're getting both calf muscles. We've got two calf muscles, the fleshy one that you can see, and there's one underneath, and the tendons of both of them join to make the Achilles tendon. And if you've got very tight calves, tight Achilles, that can have an effect on the plantar fasciitis as well. So you want to ease that out and then come to standing and come back in. Now if you're very tight, do another set on each. If you've got one side that's significantly tighter than the other, then start on the tight side and you can finish on the tight side, so you get an extra stretch on that tight side. So now we're going to come to sitting and then lying on the mat, and I'll show you some exercises we can do there. We come to kneeling on the floor. And try and sit back on your heels. So the first thing we're going to do is actually tuck the toes under and sit back on the heels. Now if you're very tight, and if you've got plantar fasciitis or had it, you might be even tighter, so you might not be able to hold this for very long, but just hold this for as long as you can, getting the toes really tucked under, and then you're really stretching out that fascia in the sole of the foot. When you get to the stage that you can't cope with it any longer, then come onto your hands, get some circulation back into your feet, and then come back on to your heels again, and do that, say, for 3 or 5 times. So you can almost count and see how far you can count to, and see in subsequent times whether you can actually hold it for a little bit longer. So that's one way of sitting on your heels. This doesn't so much stretch out, this won't stretch out the sole of the foot, but if you're very tight in the sole of the foot, you also might be tight through the front of your ankle. So it's always worth stretching that out too. You want to keep your foot as flexible as possible. This can also give you a gentle stretch down the calf, the outside of the calf. And while you're here, you might as well lean back and get a bit more of a stretch in your quads, which will also give you a nice stretch in your knees. So that's another way that you can do that. So you can do this when you're watching the television. It's a useful time to do it, and just do a few of each stretches. So one is with the feet flat like that, and the other is with the toes tucked under. So one more thing that specifically opens out the soles of the feet are rising onto your toes. So when you do this, you must keep the big toe on the floor. So only come up, bring your heels off the floor as far as you can keep the big toe grounded. So let's go, we're just going to do 6 of these. So keeping that big toe and the little toe on the floor, rise up and see, and then you can just go further and further up, but keep that big toe working. And then roll down through the sole of the foot, the ball of the foot, then the central arch. And once the heels are down, again, just squat and hold that for a second or two, making sure the knees stay hip width apart. So it's a very simple exercise, but again, it really stretches out the sole of the foot. So rising onto your toes and then controlling how you roll down through the foot, the ball of the foot, the central arch, and then the heel, and doing a little squat. And just get a nice little stretch in your calf here, and then straightening. So try and do 6 of these. So you can start with just bringing your heels off a little bit, and then rising on up a little bit more, and then controlling how you come back down. This is also very good if you keep the big toe down at strengthening the ankle evenly both sides. But if you roll onto the outside edge of the foot, you won't be doing that. So that's why it's really important to work through that base of the big toe staying nicely anchored on the mat. You're not gripping the tip of the toe in, you're working from the base of the toe pad. Let's just do 2 more. So just do about 6 of these. You can do more if you like, but I'm just going to do 6 today. And a nice little gentle stretch there. And then 1 more. Good, so something very simple, but actually sometimes not as easy as it looks. So keep that big toe grounded and you'll really open up the feet nicely. I find that people that are very tight in their calves, you're also going to be very tight in the hamstrings. So don't forget to still do things like your roll downs, where you're stretching out the hamstrings from a standing position, and from also when you're sitting on the floor or on your mat, and giving yourself a good stretch by leaning over your body and stretching out through the back of your legs that way. So both those are 2 very good hamstring stretches, and they'll get your calves as well. So I hope you find these stretches and exercises useful, and if you look at the other videos, you might get some other tips also for your plantar fasciitis. Thank you very much for watching.